And we are live. What's good, people? It's your man, DL Saints. It's Wednesday, I think. Summertime, man. All the days run together for me during the summer. That's when my daughter spends the week with her mom and weekends with me during the summer, which she spends the majority of her time with her mom during the summer. Because I have her doing school year and I'm doing all, the school stuff, the rehearsals, the practices. I'm doing all that stuff. So when summer rolls around, she spends as much time as she can with her mom because that's how you co-parent. That's how it's done. For those who don't know, you should not be using your children as a weapon or as a means to make money. You shouldn't be monetizing your kids. I'm not going to talk about that in depth now, but the majority of people out there who are in the co-parenting world, they know how to do it because they put their children first. If you don't put your children first, in my opinion, you're wrong. You are absolutely wrong, in my opinion. A lot going on out there. I'm not done talking about what happened in Texas, Uvalde, Texas. I'm not done talking about that at all. There's some people out there who are trying to justify what law enforcement did on that day, that fateful day. They're trying to justify it, and no, there's no justification for that. None. And then you look at what's going on with the stock market. You look at what's going on with inflation. We know inflation is coming. Energy prices are going up. Gas is going up. Food prices are going up. People are still underemployed. They keep saying the employment numbers are low, but people are still underemployed. Purchasing power is going down. Your dollar's not buying as much as it did last year. It's going to get worse next year. There's a lot of negativity out there, y'all. A lot of negativity. The political strife, the this and that. All this is going on. I'm not going to lie to you. I was looking for a break, a respite, right? I wanted to escape, if only for a couple of hours, just to let my mind go numb. Candace M, what's good? What's good, Candace? Drop in my like. DL got to run because I haven't seen the new movie yet. Yeah. I'm not going to do any spoilers. Go see it. Go see it. I'm not going to do any spoilers. Thanks for jumping in. I'm not going to do any spoilers. But thanks for jumping in, Candace, for real. Much love. But I needed it to get away. And you know what? I went out to a bar. I was going to an open mic thing. We're supposed to be like live music and poetry and comedy. And that didn't turn out good. So it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, you know what? The Critical Drinker gave this movie a thumbs up. And if you don't know who the Critical Drinker is, go to his YouTube, The Critical Drinker. Check it out. The Critical Drinker recommended this movie. And I'm like, wow, okay. This dude knows his movies. He knows storytelling. Right? He's my favorite critic, slant author, slant hardcore drinker. He's Scottish. One of these days, I'm going to meet up with that brother and buy him a drink. Only one drink, though, because you never drink with anyone from the UK, especially Scotland and Ireland. Don't try to drink with them. Don't. It won't work. It won't work well for you. They are pros over there. But he recommended this movie, Critical Drinker. Go check out his page. He has over 1 million subs, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go check this. I'm gonna go check this out. And I went in, and I got to tell you, if you enjoyed the original, and I remember Top Gun, I was a kid. I remember I went to see Top Gun with my dad, who I lost recently. And so it was that aspect. I'm sitting there, and I'm watching it, and I remember as a kid watching Top Gun, coming out of them theaters saying, I'm going to be a pilot. I was youngin'. I ain't know any better. I was a young kid, and I'm tall. So how was it going to happen? You 6 feet or taller, it's hard getting inside of one of those aircraft with all the G's and stuff that you pull. But it was just one of those movies that made you feel good. They just feel real, real good. And the sequel did not disappoint. So many times you see a sequel, and you cringe right away like it's going to be horrible. They're going to do a bad job. It's rare that you come across a good sequel. Well, this is one of them, y'all. You know, might have some slow parts in there. All movies do. They got stories and sub stories to tell and all that. But I was thoroughly entertained the whole time. My biggest problem with the movie were the 4 people sitting in front of me eating. You know the people I'm talking about. They doing this, going into their bag, doing this all night. Can you just get your food out before the movie starts? We all know what time it is. Ain't nobody gonna come in here and kick you out. You know what I mean? Get all your candy and stuff, put them in some Tupperware or something. And talking. I was so frustrated listening to these people talk. They didn't even try to whisper. They didn't even try. It was like 15 of us in the theater, right in the middle, talking loud, like they're in their own living room. But that didn't even stop me from having a good time. It was 2 couples. They were older. The men were older. The women were younger. And the girls, you could tell the women didn't want to be there. The guys chose this movie. The women didn't want to be there to watch the movie. So it was definitely, it was one woman in particular. She was so loud. But anyway, with all that said, I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish. So when you get into stuff like this, man, you're talking about these movies. And again, I'm not going to have any spoilers. I am not going to have any spoilers. I'm not trying to ruin it for anyone. I hate people who do that. Brother Jason, what's good? He's like, what up, though? Can't wait to see it. The first one is top 10 for sure, maybe top 5. Bro, if you thought the first one was top 10, maybe top 5, you're absolutely going to love this one. Go see it. Go see it tonight. Go see it this weekend if you can. Outstanding movie. And you know, I don't really do this sort of thing. I'm not a movie review kind of guy, but I needed this. 2 hours and 17 minutes of just walking into this world and not focusing on anything other than the story that's unfolding before you. So I gotta give it to them. They did an outstanding job. Main story was fair. The main story of the movie was fair. It is what it is. You know, it was what it was. We're talking about a movie made in the 80s, the original, and they stuck to it. They really stuck to it. The backstory, right? The backstory, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, guys. I'm not going to say nothing about nothing other than the main story was fair, but the backstory, 10 out of 10, 100%. I'm trying to tell you. So now we're going to get into some of the technical stuff, right? You know, y'all know I come from Hollywood or whatever. I was doing my stuff out there. I kind of understand a little bit how this stuff works. Casting for this movie. You could go a couple ways with it, but for this, I thought the casting for this particular movie was good. And I'm not talking about the legacy stars that came in, you know, they came back, that did their thing, but the young guns that they brought in, these young actors that they brought in to play these, you know, to play these roles, to fit this story, to complete this narrative. I thought it was good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought it was good. And what this movie did best is avoiding the one pitfall that the critical drinker is always talking about, which is the message. This movie avoids the message. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you gotta go watch The Critical Drinker. Watch one. Matter of fact, I will pin one of his videos in the description below, so you won't even have to go look for it. I'll put the one in there about the message and why Hollywood makes so many shitty movies these days. Shout out to The Critical Drinker. This movie avoids the message. They really do. They really do. They kind of slide in a couple little things, but it works. It doesn't take you away from what's going on. It really doesn't. I ain't gonna lie. So the casting was good. With reference to casting, I like a little more realism when it comes to casting and stuff like this, especially with my military themed movies. But this particular movie doesn't require that. We're not watching Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers or something like that. So it's not, quote unquote, a hardcore war film, but it's a military film. And they do an outstanding job paying honor and respect to the United States Navy, which I'm not a Navy guy. I got a cousin, one of my young cousins in the Navy. Shout out to you, Jason. He's the equivalent of a major. I don't know Navy rank. I don't know what he is, a Commodore or pirate. I don't know what their ranks are, but he is the equivalent to a major, and I'm so proud of him. And he has served on aircraft carriers as a air traffic controller, and I'm so proud of my cousin Jason because he's such an amazing young man, old man now. He's got family, he's got kids, but he started as an E1, and he rose up through the ranks, and then he jumped over to earn a commission, and he's doing this thing, and I'm so proud of him. I think of him every day whenever I have questions about the Navy, because I truly don't understand the Navy. The Navy is its own world. I truly don't understand the Navy. So I got questions. I hit up my little cousin. Yo, man, explain this to me. Explain that to me. And in fact, I have a show coming up next Wednesday. I'm talking to a brother I met in Dallas, JR. Shout out to you. And shout out to the Fresh and Fit Dallas crew. JR is a former Navy. And we're going to talk about what's going on in the Navy today. They're having a spike in self-deletions. They're also having a spike in desertions. And I don't understand what's going on. And this is a young man, a young American hero. He's had a couple deployments. You know, he's seen some things. He's a true sailor, and he'll be able to help me understand what's going on with the Navy. That's coming up Wednesday. Look for the thumbnail. I should have that thumbnail up tomorrow. That'll be next Wednesday. We were going to do it today, but we were partying so hard in Dallas, he lost his voice because he's a hard charger. That's what I'm talking about. But back to what's going on. I think casting was good. I think it was outstanding for what they were doing. I cannot knock that at all. There's I'm gonna skip over this part. It's not a spoiler. It's out there. People know about it, but people might not. So I'm not gonna bring it up. But there are some points in the movie where the acting is so good that you believe that this world truly exists. You believe the relationships between these characters in this narrative, in this story, are real people. And you really get to see the best of the best act. I mean, truly act. It's just great. You know what I mean? I've never been a true Tom Cruise fan. I'm not a Tom Cruise hater. I just, I think he's funny. Like watching him do his thing. I'm not a hater, but I tell you what, he earned my respect in this movie. He absolutely has earned my respect. I can't knock the brother. Tom Cruise, shout out to you, sir. You know what I mean? He's an aviator. A lot of people don't know this. Tom Cruise is a real pilot. I've talked to Tom Cruise as an air traffic controller, controlling him as a pilot while working in California. Voice very distinctive. We know his airplane. We know what airplanes he flies. So they never had any issues with Tom Cruise. He's a solid pilot. Solid. I've controlled Clint Eastwood. I've controlled Harrison Ford. I've controlled what's the name of the brother from Lean on Me and all that. He's also a pilot. Oh man, what is his name? What is his name? Give me a second. I'm gonna find out his name. I always forget his name, and here it is right here. Morgan Freeman. He's an icon, especially in our community. Shame on me for forgetting Morgan Freeman's name, but I've controlled him. He flies jets as well. Last time I talked to him, which was a long time ago. It might be 8 to 10 years ago. He was flying his own Citation jet, and I had to give him an immediate takeoff. It was Morgan Freeman. As soon as you started talking, you knew it was him. I had to get him going real quick, or he was going to be looking at a 45-minute delay. So I had to get him airborne. And when you ask the pilot for an immediate takeoff, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. It's kind of a roll of the dice. But the the good pilots, they always give you they turn and burn. They get you a really good departure roll out of there. And Morgan Freeman was one of those pilots. Shout out to you, brother. So yeah, I've talked Patrick Swayze. I've talking to him on frequency. John Travolta, I've controlled him. Yeah, like I said, that air traffic control bubble was a great bubble. That aviation world, I am so proud to be a part of that, and I feel so fortunate to be a part of that world. I've talked to some of the greats. So there's a part in there that I didn't want to bring up because I said I'm not going to do any spoilers, but it's amazing, and when you guys see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Did I have to suspend my belief while watching this movie? Absolutely. I absolutely had to suspend my belief. And you know what? You should, because this is make believe. This is part of unplugging. You sit there and you watch and you get absorbed into the story. It's not a good story if you don't suspend belief just a little bit. Just a little. Right? Just a little bit. So obviously they got to go do something, right? We can't have a movie if they don't go do something. There has to be some sort of threat, right? There has to be some reason to drag Maverick into all this. There has to be some reason. So they did a good job in creating the threats and creating the making it as realistic as possible as to why these people have to come together, as to why they have to come together at this particular point, at this particular place, at this particular time. They did an outstanding job. They even they did a great job of explaining away how this could even happen. So shout out to them. They did a really good job. And but yeah, you had to suspend belief just a little bit, the stuff that they were doing. But it did not affect the movie. It did not. The little technical stuff that I'm talking about didn't hurt anything. So what I love most about this movie, like Candace says, never leave your wingman. Real talk. Never leave your wingman. That's true. In an army, it was like that too, man. Never leave your jump buddy. Never leave that. You exit the bird together. Y'all link up on the DZ. Y'all got in together. Y'all jumped in together, and y'all go home together. That's how that works. You don't want to be the one to tell your buddy's parents why you are still here breathing and they're not, right? You never want to be that one. Stay with your buddy. You make it happen. He goes in, you go in. He runs that way, you run that way. But yeah, so they do a really good job showcasing the United States Navy. A really good job. And you have so much, like the United States Navy has so much within their world. Got the aviators we're talking about here, right? You got the submariners. Those guys will go out there in those submarines. They go under the waves, and they don't come up for months. Could you imagine that? Underwater for months, right? They got Navy SEALs. You guys have heard of these dudes, right? Absolute tip of the spear operators that can do anything, true X-Men, right? That's Navy. The United States Marine Corps falls under the Navy. Right. So when you look at a aircraft carrier, that's like that's a floating city, a floating fortress. They don't like calling it a fortress, but it is. It's a floating city. And when they send the carrier group out, the whole group, I guess so many vessels and personnel involved with that. So they do a real good job. And yeah, the Navy, they are huge. They are huge. And so much tradition. So much tradition. I'm gonna have to look it up. I want to say the Army was first, but then the Continental Army came first, and then there was the Navy, which were basically privateers. Like our rebel Navy was mostly made of, pirates, but we had one. So like the Army came first, I think. I'm gonna have to check it out, look it up. I mean, the Army came first, then it was the Navy, the Marine Corps, and then the Air Force came along. Because the Army had all the airplanes going into World War II was the Army Air Corps. And then the Navy had their own aircraft, and the Marine Corps had their own aircraft. But again, the Marines were under the Navy. So the Air Force didn't come about until, I want to say, after World War II. During World War II, I think there was a split at some point. I am pretty certain that once the Korean conflict began, we had an Air Force. But again, I got to look that up. I didn't think that I was going to get into that part or any kind of real life history, so I didn't put it down in my notes, but I'll definitely look it up. But this movie did an outstanding job of showing what it's like to be a naval aviator. And it also showed what it was like to be an aviator, period. Even like civilian aviators, the civilian pilots out there, that community is small, and the way they rock, they live a different world. They live a different world. You know what I mean? They talk, aviator talk. They look at the clouds differently. Right? They want to know, they'll ask you where the bottoms are. So people they're talking about a cloud deck. Like, what's the ceiling? What's the ceiling of the cloud deck? What are the bottoms? What are the tops? You know what I mean? What are the heights? What's the highest part of the clouds? You know what I mean? They want to know, hey, is it good VFR weather? What's VFR? Visual flight rules. I mean, it's just nice. It's this sun and no clouds, blue sky. They're ready to go fly. IFR means just, weather. Like if you're flying around, you're inside of a cloud, you're flying with your instruments, right? IFR you're flying instrument flight rules, which means there are rules for flying around with just on your instruments on cloudy days and whatnot when you can't really see. And then there are rules for flying around on pretty days, VFR, visual flight rules. Those air traffic control talk, I'm not trying to get into that as well. One day, if y'all want me to tell y'all about the air traffic world, I can. I can tell you about the aviation world. I did it for a long time. If y'all want to do that, just hit me up. I would be happy to put together a show about that. But yeah, highlighted the United States Navy. And I wanted to show something here. What they do in the Navy is nothing short of incredible. Nothing short of incredible. So dig this. This is the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. That is an F-18 waiting to depart. Right here is a hook. He's hooked to a long cable that shoots him off the end of the boat. You see all that smoke? So you got this cable that yanks the airplane off the ship. That's how they get the energy they need, along with their throttle, along with the engines, to get airborne. This surface is the most dangerous place in the United States military. The flight deck of an aircraft carrier is the most dangerous place in the United States military. Peacetime or wartime, it does not matter. These men and women walking around on this flight deck are extremely brave. Extremely brave. That cable that you saw that was shooting these people shooting these airplanes off the boat, sometimes those cables snap and they whip around the deck. It will cut you in half. And these men and women are on the deck. If I'm not mistaken, some people were telling me they have nets and netting and stuff like that in case these people have to jump off the flight deck so they don't jump into the ocean. They can jump into this net into safety. I'm about to get my cousin on here one of these days, or maybe JR. I think JR was on an aircraft carrier. Look at what they're doing. There's certain types of airplanes that the intakes on the airplane, how the engine gets the air, if you get too close to the intake, it will suck you in and blow you out the back of the airplane. And these people on the flight deck, they deal with that every single day in and day out. This is what they do. You see the propellers back here on some of these aircraft? See this? See how close he is to that propeller? He has to duck under the wing. This guy's right here. They have to connect this to the catapult, which is, again, it's a catapult system to launch. Look where his foot is. There's a slot in there. There's a slot. Like you can probably get your hand or your foot down there and probably lose it. Look how close he is to that moving wheel. Look at that. He's shoving that device, that hook in there to connect it to the catapult. Look at that. Then he has to make sure nothing's there, run out of the way. And then he launched this thing off the boat. I just think that's amazing. People thought I was crazy for walking out of airplanes. People thought I was crazy because I jumped out of airplanes. Ain't no way in hell I'm gonna do this. You see that smoke coming off that catapult? Those cables snap sometimes. Those cables snap. So that's them launching airplanes. So those airplanes got to come back and land, right? These are the airplanes landing. You've heard about tail hooks. They got a hook right here. They got to catch this tail hook on a cable that's going across the deck. Look at that. Bam. And they stop the airplane. Yo, when these aviators are landing these airplanes, they're landing the F-18. That's the F-18 Hornet. I don't know what model it is. Again, I know it's an F-18 friendly because we had to know what was friendly or foe. And when you're in the combat zone, whatever's shooting at you is the foe. Sometimes our own people shoot at us because they don't really know where we are, right? We're stealthy people. Sometimes they don't know where we are. But we always had to be able to identify friendly and foe aircraft. F-18. They have to land on this deck. Full throttle. Basically, they're landing on the deck with their foot on the gas. The tail hook engages. And I don't even know how they manage to disengage. I don't know how they do it. But the cable stops them. And then I guess at that point, once they engage the cable, they can throttle down. But they have to land at full throttle because if they miss the cable, they have to be able to take off again. They have to be able to just bounce right through. We call it a touch and go. They have to be able to do that. People, that's crazy. That's like driving 100 miles an hour into a wall, and you're going to rely on some cable to stop your car before you hit the wall. Well, let's say a cliff. Let's not say a wall. Let's say a cliff. You're driving 100 miles an hour onto a cliff. Like, it's crazy. And look at that. Full throttle. You hear the engine? Engine screaming. And these guys here, these are aviators, these are pilots. And they're talking to the pilot in the airplane. Making sure that they're in the zone or whatever. They're lined up just perfectly so they can catch that cable. These people are amazing. These people are amazing. So when I went to see the movie that I thoroughly enjoyed, they did an outstanding job of highlighting that carrier life, that aviator life. They did an outstanding job. And they wrapped it up in a really good story. And they paid honor and kept everything true to the original. And I tell you what, they did Top Gun. They did it right. So shout out to you, Hollywood, for not screwing it up. They didn't bog it down with the message. They didn't sit there and try to rewrite history or rewrite a narrative. They did an outstanding job. So shout out to you, Hollywood. Shout out to everybody who kind of hung out with me today talking about this. Again, we got plenty of bad stuff going on in the world. If you want to just have 2 hours and 17 minutes to unplug and throw yourself into another world free of all the drama that we're dealing with now, please go see this movie. I think it'll do you justice. It'll definitely make you happy. I know it made me happy. I came home, I slept like a baby. But then I woke up to what we got to deal with, and we will be dealing with it. So look, I got some shows coming up about what's going on in the Navy. I got some political shows coming up. Jay Swans and I are going to talk about starting a political party. That's right. We're going to talk about that. And also I want to do a show. I'm trying to get a hold of some people with Andrew Yang's Forward Party. Andrew Yang is starting a party right now, and he seems to have a little bit of momentum. I'm going to reach out to those people and see if I can't find someone who could come on and we can talk about what they're doing over there. And also, I want to keep you guys up to speed on what's going on with the midterm elections and how recent events may be affecting that one way or the other. So yeah, I'm DL Saint. This is the DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. I'll talk to y'all later. Go watch